You are now listening to the Going North podcast with your host, author and speaker, Dom Brightman. And every Monday and Thursday, you're going to hear the voice of a different author share their stories, expertise, and their struggles that they had to overcome in life to leave you inspired to get more out of your life. Be sure to not only listen to this episode, but share with others, connect with the authors, and always advance others to advance yourself. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we're back at you again with another author, but not just any author. In addition, she's also a fellow podcast host, and she's also a coach who is passionate. And she's not only filled with passion, she's filled with passion because she has one heck of a powerful message about living your best life and eliminating regret and connecting with purpose. And that's one heck of a mission right there, to be able to connect with others with passion and purpose. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful person is. It's the one, the only Kirsty Salisbury. How are you today, ma'am?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm great. That's a bit of an intro. So, yeah, I'm great. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, yes, ma'am. All the way from New Zealand, right?
Yep, that's right. I've probably got a funny accent to you, but it goes both ways, really.
Yes, ma'am, it does. I'm a fan of accents because folks think I got a country accent, which is me being lackadaisical. Not to mention, let's see, interviewed a person from Australia, the wonderful John McCall, and a couple others. So you're not the first with the wonderful accent.
Oh, that's good to know. Yep, excellent.
That's right. Accents are always welcome here.
Okay.
Well, alrighty. So mind telling us a bit about yourself and what led you to where you currently are?
Yeah, okay. Well, my name's Kirsty. I'm based in New Zealand and I've had a pretty full on life journey. I've got a lot of things which I'm really passionate about. As you just touched on there, I've just released my new book, which is called A Life by Design: How to Design Your Best Future, Regardless of Your Current Circumstances. And that's come out of a real passion to pursue life and squeeze the juice out of life, to do things and embrace opportunities, and how I strongly believe that we can actually change our future based on our current actions. And so the book is about my personal journey, which has been quite an interesting journey because when I was younger, when I was 12 years old, I actually had a major brain illness, and we found out that my brain was a bit malformed and that there were quite a few medical issues that went on there, which led me right to my deathbed. So I had an amazing experience. And then I woke up from a coma a few days later and I was completely paralyzed down the left side of my body. And I had this whole new life to step into. Well, probably not step because I was paralyzed, but this amazing life. And I was confronted with all these decisions about how I was going to navigate what was going on for me and what I would do. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And I actually look back at that experience and I'm so, so grateful that it happened. I have so much gratitude that it happened to me and from all the things that I've learned from it. And now I really want to pass the message on. I want to take the things that I've learned through that and help other people to do similar things, even if they haven't been through that same experience as me. So I'm really passionate about that. I've got a little bit of an obsession with death because I think it can be a beautiful thing. I think it's painful, but it can have beauty in it. I'm obsessed with regret and getting rid of it and taking challenges in life, just really pursuing life. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Pursuing life like a basketball down the court. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we've got to, right? We've got to do things. We're given this life, we're given this opportunity. And I think so many people, and even me back then, I was just living in life like life wasn't bad. It just was what it was. And I wasn't aware how much power I had to create something. And I believe that we've got opportunities. So, yeah, we have to do things. We can't just let it happen to us.
Agreed on that. It's really true. It's like live your life by design and not by default, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly my message. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So that is one heck of just like a, I guess in a way it can be a setback depending on the way you look at it, but just overcoming that brain injury, especially at a young age. Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was at quite an unusual age, I guess, because I was coming into adolescence. So it's right at a defining age where we start to work out who we are as a person. We start to, I guess, create our mindsets and what we believe in, what we think, how we want to navigate our life. And it was at a point where there was a lot of decision happening, and I felt like all of my decisions have been taken away from me. And so I talk now about how it's my greatest gift. But at the time, I mean, it was a pretty emotional journey. There was a lot of, I guess, blame. I was really angry. It was very difficult to go through. When everybody else was going off to do fun things and go and enjoy life, I was going off to hospital trips and trying to navigate how to use my leg or getting people to help me with all the common everyday things. So I think at the time it was actually really terrible. It was awful, but it's about not staying in that place. So yeah, I mean, 12 years old, it's a significant time, but actually it's been really great.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because I mean, it kind of sucks from the young perspective, but when you become a little older, it's like, hey, you still get to do fun things.
Yeah, and trust me, I've definitely made up for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. I guess that goes to part of your book where you titled one of the chapters "The Gift of Crisis."
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's a saying, I presume that you have it over there, the silver lining, every cloud has a silver lining. And it's pretty much that same concept that every experience, even the deepest, darkest, hardest times, and there's some pretty bad ones out there, sure, we go through it. And we've got to actually be present in that. I think that we have to go through the phases of that and then go through the healing of it. But like I just said, we can't stay there. And so it's getting to the point where we realize that we can take a bit of control, because I believe that there's always something we can do. And maybe that's not straight away, but there's always something we can do. So if our body doesn't work, probably our mind does. And if our mind doesn't work, then hopefully part of our body does. Or there's always something or someone we can get around us, something we can do to try and influence our situation. And it's taking the crisis, the trauma, the circumstance, and just trying to re-angle it. So whether you can flip it completely upside down and stand on top of it, or you can just open it up a little bit, or you can change something about the crisis to find where the gift is, find out what is the useful part of this. What can I learn from this? How can this empower my life or help other people, change my mindset? There's so many things, but we need to go through the crisis first and then work out what the gift is. And I believe there's a gift in everything, everything at all.
That's right. Even if the gift comes with spikes, right?
Oh, totally, totally. And some of those ones are the best ones. But until we actually step back and then start to assess what's going on and start to see what we can do with it, we might not even realize that it's got spikes. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of those ones are really good. When you come out of it, it's great.
That's right. Just don't notice the blood on the hands. It's part of the process.
I know you notice it and then you just wipe it off. Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. Well, overcoming the brain injury of adolescence and then becoming an adult, it's really just an amazing thing. So what led you to writing your book?
Oh gosh, I get asked this all the time. I wrote my book because I knew I was always going to write this book. I Like I said, it took me right to the brink of my deathbed, to the point where they had to bring me back. And I had this beautiful experience. It was quite brief, but I had this beautiful experience. And when I woke up, I just knew things. I knew that I was going to write a book. I knew that everything in my life was exactly how it was meant to be. And then I went through this process, of a healing process of learning how to use my body. Luckily, today I'm really great. I'm really active. I've got nearly the full use back in my body. So I can run and jump and do all sorts of things. I can live a completely, I guess what people would say, normal life. I don't like to put myself in the normal category, but I can do anything that I need to do in a daily life. So that's really, really great. But I think also it's about working it all out, going through the process. And so I knew when I came back that I had to write this book. I just didn't know when it was going to be or how it was going to be. So all I was focused on was my healing and getting better. And then I actually became quite embarrassed and ashamed of who I was. And I felt like my illness had been a really bad thing. And there were years and years where I just couldn't accept it. And, this really started to control who I became because I was trying to hide my limitations. I was trying to hide my story. And I really didn't have the freedom inside of myself. So there was no way I was going to start and write a book when I'm feeling like that. I was trying to keep this thing as contained as possible. And then more recently, as I've gone on, I've got this amazing husband who's really supportive, and we've got a little girl together, not so little now, she's nearly 9. So, got these other people in my life who totally support me and love me, and they've helped me to come to a place of accepting exactly who I am and accepting what happened, accepting my story. And then I really wanted to start to break out of this little prison that I put myself in. So I knew that I was going to write the book one day because it's such an amazing story. And, who am I to keep that to myself, especially all the things that I've learned through it. So just recently, I started to actually become a little bit more public about my story, and I started doing a bit of speaking because people were saying, wow, you've got to share this. And once I let it out, it kind of opened the box. And now, I'm podcasting, telling people very openly. I'm coming on shows like this one, talking about it. And so I thought, right, now's the time to write my book. So I went away because I thought it was just going to be a quick little blurb. I didn't realize it was going to be a full-blown book. And I didn't really feel capable of writing a book, to be honest, because I found it really, really hard mentally and emotionally. So I went away and this book just flowed out of me. Like, seriously, I was sitting there typing away. I type one-handed because that's just how I am. And
Nice.
I just typed and typed and typed out onto my laptop. And I typed for about 14 hours straight. It just came out and it was a wreck. It was a train wreck. Honestly, I took myself away from my family because I kind of suspected that that's what was going to happen. And at the end of that, I then took a couple of hours to recover, and then I was done. That was me. I'd written my book, and I just held on to that for quite some time because it was such a process to get those words that I'd originally written into a format where I could release them into the world. And I'm not just talking about like we put it into a book and we get editors and the proofreaders and designing covers and all that type of stuff. Like, all of that was involved, but it was getting it to a point where I was emotionally ready to release this to the world, where I was able to deal with people knowing about me, knowing who I was, and not feeling really ashamed and insecure of who I am anymore. So that's a really long-winded answer to your question. I always knew there was a book in me. I just didn't know when it was going to come out. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And I sat down, I wrote the whole thing in one weekend, and then it took another 2 years to get it to the point where I could let it out. And it's been such an amazing journey. I'm now on my second book, and I know that there's actually a couple of books in me because once I'd written the words, we actually ended up tweaking quite a bit, taking quite a bit of the information out. And I realized that I was actually writing more than one book at the same time, but my brain couldn't separate different things. It just couldn't understand that they weren't connected. So we cut it in. So now it is just a fairly little book, and then there's another one coming. Then there's going to be more in the future. And yeah, like, let's wait and see what happens. I love to write. I've actually found a lot of freedom in the writing, and I totally recommend it to anybody who's out there. We all think we don't have a story, but everybody has a story. Everybody has an opinion or a piece of something that they want to get out to the world. And I just encourage everybody to have a go, because it's the process which is the most rewarding. Like, it's really great now that I've got my book and I love selling it. I love people's feedback, and I get all these emails telling me how it's changed their thinking and it's empowered them. But actually a huge part of the success was in the writing of it for me.
That is amazing indeed. And one thing you said that stuck out to me was the process of the writing, and it's the fact that it just really can be an emotional process, and it may bring up some things from the past, or it may require like self-limiting beliefs to overcome. So, any advice
Mm.
for those who are currently in the writing process of their book to actually like find a way to actually, I guess, in a way, overcome or possibly heal from that, or at least try to find a way to, I wouldn't say expedite, but just find a way to cope with just all the outpour of all of that onto paper or computer?
Yeah. Um, to be honest, I was in quite a rush to write this. And I would say take your time. I thought after that weekend, right, I've written my book, let's just get it all ready, let's get it out there. And it was another 2 years, and I was getting really frustrated because, on one hand, I really wanted to finish it, and on the other hand, I wasn't ready. But I would say the greatest thing that I did was allow myself to take time. And if you're struggling with your writing, then just have a little bit of time off, take a break from it, focus on something else, and perhaps even assess, why am I finding this hard? Is it the writing itself? Have I got a bit of a block? Is it the content? Is it the opinions, what people might think? Try and work out what the block actually is rather than just trying to push through. Because I found once I took a break, then I was a lot more refreshed. And I wouldn't take a break with a time frame on it. I wouldn't say, right, I'm going to take 2 weeks off or a month off. I would say, I'm going to take a little break from this now, and I'm going to go and focus on something else, which I really enjoy. So for me, I love my podcasts. I've got 3 different podcasts because I love them so much. And I'd go and do that because that made me really happy. And I found that after a little bit of time doing something which I enjoyed, I found myself refreshed and going, oh, I wouldn't mind picking up the book again. I wouldn't mind getting stuck back into that. So take your break without a time frame on it. And I'd say just listen to yourself, just connect with yourself and make sure that you're in your zone so that you can get back into it in a comfortable way, not pushing and pushing and pushing, because that's striving, which from my experience doesn't really get us very far at all. So yeah, I'd say just take your time, be nice to yourself, and work out why the block's there in the first place.
That's right. Be nice to yourself because being mean is overrated at this point, right?
Oh, definitely. We are so mean to ourselves. I mean, I know this firsthand, right? I've been shocking. I'm a lot better these days, but we've got to be nice to ourselves.
Yep, that's right. Just wake up in the morning, make the emoji face with the smiley face.
Yeah. I'm imagining all these emojis right now. I'm thinking of the poo face and I don't know, there's all sorts of ones.
Well, I'm not sure if you want to imagine yourself as the poo face when you wake up.
No, I've always got the sunglasses on. That's me, the cool face.
Ah, there you go. The cool
Yeah,
face.
yeah, that makes me happy.
So cool. She's as cool as 3 cucumbers. Woo! Well, awesome indeed. 6 weeks of book release goodness. Got another one on the way and have one heck of a speaking career and 3 podcasts. So how the heck do you manage all that?
Oh, do you know, I get up every day and I think a lot of people are focused on goals and success sheets and writing big lists. And I've got a big list, but to be honest, I'm very, very connected to what I want. And I think some of that comes back to my experience. I know that I'm here for a set purpose. And whilst I don't have clarity on what that exact purpose is, I know that one of my greatest reasons to be here is to love and to just do my very best. So I live with my highest intention possible in place. So each day I'll get up and I'll connect with, what are the things that I really want to do with my day? And then what are the things that are actually going to make a difference today? So rather than trudging through the same old to-do list, I might go and do something completely different, or go and see a person, or I don't know, go out and connect with someone. So I make sure that I do a lot of stuff that I enjoy. That's really key for me to being able to continue on and getting a lot done. I'm also really quite good at managing my time well. So I am one of these people that get up really early. I love to get up, start the day really early. I start the day with a workout in the gym. Quite often I've got a podcast going as I'm doing that, because I think I'm not big into multitasking, but I do think that that's a really good use of multitasking, is to have some audio going, something which is really teaching us or putting some positive words into my brain first thing in the morning. So I'll be there, I'm training my body, getting something good into my mind, come home, have a nice big healthy breakfast, and then sit down and start the day well. And, often if you want something done, you give it to a busy person. So I make sure that the things that I want done, I carve out time. I'm pretty good at carving out time and then also adding in time for distractions. So there's a really great technique which I use, which is called the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if you're familiar with it. But what this is you set time. So, for example, 25 minutes for one project, one task, and then 5 minutes of whatever you want. You can do anything you like. So that could be going and looking around Facebook, could be on social media, it could be watching a movie, anything you want for that 5 minutes, just to sort of change up the atmosphere. And then you go into another block of 25 minutes of a task, a specific project. And so I look at my day and I set aside different tasks, and then I sit down and I faithfully do them for 25 minutes. And then I force myself to have a break for 5 minutes and completely do something different. And I find that that's really good for me. I like to say yes to a lot of things. I like to have a lot of time, a lot of different options in life. I really love to experience things. And that's one of my big mantras, is go and live life, do things and squeeze the juice out of it, have experiences and fun and try things. So I'm often guilty of having my finger in a lot of different pies. I'm trying to do a lot of different things at once. But what I do find is that you can bring it all together, and it can actually work effectively if we just have a bit of planning in place. So that's where I put that technique in place. I get up nice and early, and I generally don't tend to sit around and waste time unless I've planned it in, because not much good comes from that. But then I do try and take about half a day off a week where I can just do whatever I want and do some stuff for me to be nice to myself. We say we need to wake up and be nice to ourselves. And I find that that's really good to take active time where I don't feel guilty for it because it's booked in, but I need to complete other things before I can take that. I can't do that first thing on a Monday morning. I prefer to do it on a Friday afternoon or a Wednesday afternoon or something like that. So lots of tips in there. Do a lot of stuff, plan out time, be effective with time, and start the day early. That's how I get it done.
One of the greatest things ever right there is being one of those folks that can wake up early and keep up with the habit.
Oh, but I think anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. It might take a little bit of practice, a little bit of time. And I haven't done it forever, but there came a time where I could see the benefits. And I think it's just actually adapting your life. And it might not, you don't suddenly just say, well, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, unless you want that really cold turkey feel, you want to wake up and it's all on. But if you just took your clock back a couple of minutes every day over a time period, you get to the point where you are waking up that early. And I believe we all can. If we're saying we can't do it, then why can't we do it? Because it means that we want something else more than we want to achieve the things that we'd be doing at that time of morning.
That's right. Some people just want to be with the rest of the bed people instead of the action people.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it's the way we're living our life at nighttime, having too much wine at night, or not going to bed early enough, staying up watching movies, all that type of stuff. And I'm not against those things. They've got a place in my life as well. But if that's going to be at the sacrifice of getting up early, then, we can all do it. It's just working out what we want. What's our priority? And we've all got different priorities. We've all got different things we want out of life. But I want the most. I'm really pushing for the most amazing life possible.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think so.
So since you're pushing for more out of life, is there this big, huge goal? Is there this whole end goal that you're pushing for that you're trying to reach?
Not really, no. And people ask me about that. Again, people, I've hired different coaches who've said, okay, so I want your 6-month goals, your 1-year goals, your 5-year goal, and your 10-year goals. And I literally just go, I can't do that, because what I found is that by doing a lot of things and pursuing life, so many opportunities open up. And I've lived in countries all over the world. We've done so many exciting things. And so if you're going to ask me what's my goal in 5 years, I can't even tell you what country I'm going to be in. I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing. And so my biggest goal in life is to connect with my intention, my purpose, with my overall picture. I like to connect, I guess you'd call it spiritually. I like to connect with my bigger purpose. And so for me, that's where I get up each day and I just do what I believe is absolutely right. I don't have set goals because what I find is after some time, maybe that goal's completely changed. Maybe it's not relevant anymore. I've got dreams. I've got things I want to do and areas that I want to develop in my life. And so I just keep moving towards those things. But then opportunities open up, and that's where you've got to make the choice. Do I go with the opportunity or do I go with the goal that I had? And for me, that all comes down to how do I feel, what feels right inside, and what is it that my gut's saying. And we can't all live all the time by what our gut says, but I spend a lot of time living in that place. And so far it's been amazing. It's been a real successful way to live. And my life is great. It's so exciting. So yeah, no big goals, but directions and things that I want to head towards.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's probably something more folks should really talk about is the fact that goals are really going to change. Because, I mean, as you grow professionally, personally, spiritually, or just as a whole human being, I mean, you're not going to want the same thing when you're 35 as opposed when you're like 15. So it's
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Exactly. So why would we think in 20 years' time that we want the same thing? But we've got to have direction in life. We've got to be consciously living and working towards something. Because if we're just putting up with whatever life sends our way, life will be what it will be, but we can actually create it. And so we need to have direction. But yeah, exactly. We don't know what we want, and things change all the time. All the time.
that's right. Not just coins either.
Yeah, exactly.
Woo! Well, and speaking of 20s, if you were to wake up tomorrow and you get to keep all your knowledge and experience and you were 25 in the current year of 2018, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh my goodness, what a cool question. But you know what? I struggle to believe that I'm not 25 because in my mind, I'm still 25. I'm still actually, yeah, maybe a bit younger. So I think taking all my knowledge back then, I would probably say to myself, just be a little bit nicer. Just accept yourself. I've talked about this journey that I went on of not accepting myself. I was never good enough. I was never able enough. I'd probably just go back and say, just chill out. You are good enough. People love you. You're accepted. You're doing your best. So, I live today like I am really young still. I think age is just a mindset. And I'd say just be nice to ourselves, connect with ourselves, and be authentic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The smiling, cool emoji with the shades every day.
Every day. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's not much I'd change, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, that is a beautiful thing. So, for those who want to keep in touch with you and keep up with what you're doing, especially when book number two makes its debut, how do we reach out to you?
You can find me through my website. So that's just my name, www.kirstysalisbury.com. You can find me there. You can find the book there. I'm splattered all over the place, really. That's probably not a nice term, is it? But, you'll find me on Facebook and Instagram, and I've got my book on Amazon. I'm all over the place. But if you want to connect with me personally, then through my website is where you'll find everything about me. That's where all my events are. Yeah, I've got a YouTube channel as well where I put a lot of my podcasts. My podcasts are on iTunes, they're on iHeartRadio, all over the place. But my website's sort of the guaranteed place. Or send me an email. That's easy as well. And then I can connect one-to-one. So there I am.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. She is splattered all over the place like a wonderful piece of art. So go on ahead and head over to that wonderful website, pick up her book, check out all of her goodies, and all three of her podcasts, baby, all three of them. That little triangle of awesomeness. So any parting words for those still listening?
Live life, love people, eliminate regret.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy. Stop it right now and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers, especially those who have book clubs and want to listen to the authors who write some amazing books. Be sure to check out the rest of the backlog too while you're at it, and share all those too. And in order to make the rest of your week the best of your week, remember to advance others, to advance yourself.